What's up, guys? Mason the Brock Henderson here, and this is Timeless Season 1, Episode 7, Stranded. So this is kind of expected. Most of the time whenever you have a TV show and it's about a team of people working together, and then the trust has been broken, and it's just like, oh, I don't know if we can work together anymore, you have this episode. I mean, they're in a life or death situation. A lot of questions of, will they make it out? They have to learn to trust each other to make it out alive, and then they realize we have to rely on each other, we have to trust each other, and I apologize for every lie, and blah, blah, blah. I've seen this episode done before. However, that being said, it doesn't mean that it's not a good episode. There can be cliches done well, in my opinion. I mean, you look at a lot of Hollywood movies, TV shows nowadays, there are not a lot of original ideas. There are a lot of cliches nowadays, even in movies that are good. The question is, can you do it in such a way where it doesn't feel like it's a cliche? And honestly, they did that. There was a moment halfway through where I finally realized, okay, they were caught by the chieftain. This was after they'd had their talk about we need to trust each other. At that moment, I was kind of like, okay, maybe this is what they're doing. After they got caught by the chieftain, that's when I was like, okay, so this is the episode. We're learning to trust each other this episode. So it took me a while to realize that this cliche was going to happen. So that's good. The fact that they could disguise it as something else, as a completely different episode. I mean, they got stranded in 1700s. That in itself is pretty scary. So I like what they've done with it. It was a good episode to have that trust rebuilt. Question is, and this is the one issue that I wish they'd address a bit more, there was a couple people killed off in the French army. Now, you could make the case, well, maybe those people were meant to die anyway, but I would like to see how some of these deaths, there have been a couple people that Wyatt killed back in a couple other times. I would like to see how these deaths are affecting the timeline in general. Were these people meant to survive? I mean, the general that was trying to catch them, it seemed like he knew one of the guys that died. He found his dead body. He's like, I knew she raised you too soft. So it's kind of a question of, did this possibly change history somehow? Like, was this guy important to this general and change? I wish they'd focus a little bit more on that. I mean, they do put some focus on it. They have the newspaper clipping. Well, not whatever. It's a little clipping about the Pennsylvania orb that apparently the French saw, and so it was the first UFO sighting, and so they do address it. But there are certain things that I feel like would change the timeline overall. I don't know. I wish they were a little bit more meaningful. Just killing off two people feels like it should affect something. So the fact that it didn't affect anything kind of makes me think, I don't know if I buy that. I feel like killing two people back in that time would affect something. So they do a good job of showing kind of, I guess, the reaction to it. Whenever Wyatt kills them both, he does act like, I can't believe I just had to kill them. And of course, Lucy and Rufus are both like, holy crap, he just killed them. So you do see the reaction to it. I want more of the consequence of it, because we didn't really get to see that in this episode. That being said, the rest of it was really good. A lot of it was the lack of trust. Whenever they get captured by the chieftain, they have that moment where they're looking at death's door, and so they're all talking about, if I had one last chance, I'd do blah, blah, blah. So it helps them connect again. The chieftain comes in, marks both of Lucy and Wyatt for death, but because Rufus, she thinks he's just a captured slave, she's like, you're free to go. And so he says, no, I want them to come with me. They're my friends. I wasn't captured. So it was nice to see that Rufus had a chance to save them for the first time, because most of the time it is Wyatt saving both of them. Sometimes Lucy has to do something to save them. So it's nice to see Rufus have a moment where he finally gets to be the hero in this moment. And then, of course, just the entire getting back to the present day was a lot of Rufus too. He leaves the message for Gia and Connor Mason to find, and they managed to decipher it because he made a Star Wars reference, because that's Rufus. I mean, the fact that he's a Star Wars fan, Gia's a Star Trek fan, that's awesome. I want a relationship like that. Anyway, but how they make it back is very interesting. I also like the fact that they didn't make it back perfectly. If they had just popped up on the platform again, I'd be like, yeah, bull crap. Like that just wouldn't seem realistic to me. So the fact that it was she did her best, but it was still a little bit off and crashed into some desks off to the side. I like that. I like the little touches that show you it's not as easy as it seems. Time travel is not supposed to be easy. It's not supposed to be, oh, we're stranded. Let me send a message forward several hundred years. They decipher the message and realize they have to help me navigate back to it. That just it would be very difficult to do. So the fact that they're showing the difficulty, the fact that it's not 100% perfect, things do mess up. I like that. It's nice. It makes the show feel a bit more realistic. A time travel show feeling realistic is something that is not going to happen very often. So whenever they can, I like the little touches. And overall, it kind of sets up for Lucy starting to focus more on the journal and actually talk to them about it, because she's worried because Flynn apparently thinks that she's destined to help him. She's worried that that future will come true, and she doesn't want to help Flynn. Even though Rittenhouse is obviously bad and stopping them is important, she doesn't want to help Flynn on his murder crusade just to stop this one corporation, destroying America to stop one corporation. So it's interesting to see now that the group knows how they're going to help her get through this. I thought Wyatt's words of wisdom at the end were really good. How history is a bunch of choices. So try to choose your own destiny instead of just giving in and saying it's fate. I like that. As somebody who feels like we are free to choose, I thought it was a really good speech. I thought it was well worded. I thought it makes sense in this moment whenever you look at kind of the whole destiny is already rewritten thing. They're rewriting a lot of destiny right now. You look at everything that's happened in the show so far, a lot has changed. And so it kind of fits in with the theme of the show, that history is being rewritten. So it was a good episode. It wasn't anything spectacular. Like I said, I've seen this episode done before in other shows, but it was done well here. So I would say it's a good episode. I would say definitely looking forward to next week, though, because I'm ready to move on from this and get into the main story again. And on top of that, it's about the moon landing. That's going to be pretty cool. So we'll see where it's going, but for right now, I'm happy with what's going on. So let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. What did you like and dislike about this episode? Let me know. We can talk about and discuss all that good stuff. Leave a like and subscribe for future timeless reviews. I'll see you at the next one. Peace out.